Inspired? Gone? On? Okay. All right. Partnering with God in Health and Wellness series, class 4 of 10. We are talking tonight about understanding wheat, dairy, corn, and soy. Such an important topic. Let me just pray first, as always, to start. Lord, we love you, we exalt you, we thank you for all things. We thank you for wheat, dairy, corn, and soy. We ask that you'd help us to understand food better and understand our bodies better and bring us into your heart, your desire for us, which is fullness and health and wellness and alignment with you. We thank you so much for what you do for us, for your love, for guiding our lives, and we just say we want more of you. We choose you, we choose truth, we choose love, and we thank you for who you are. In Jesus' name, amen. So, let's just go right into it. Roman numeral 1, the foods you are eating should depend on your current state of health. So, this is like really crucial to understand and what I really want to focus on in this class, because everybody, myself included, is confused on what to eat today. I mean, is that a fair statement? Are we confused on what we could or should eat today? Especially when it comes to this topic of wheat and bread-related products and dairy. Should we eat it? Should we not? Corn, is it good for us? Is it not? Soy. So it's just really, really confusing. One thing I want to make clear is that you cannot universally say this is an amazing food for everybody. The reason is more than anything, it's because of the world we've created today. What we've done to our food, what we've done to our bodies, you can't just universally say that, well, milk's good for everybody, or wheat bread's good for everybody, or if it's whole grain, it's good. And that's hard because a lot of people who really believe in these things want to make it great for everybody, and that's not necessarily the case. So, for example, you're on a farm and you have grass-fed cows and you say, well, raw milk is the best and everybody can benefit from raw milk. It's not true. It's not true because of what we've done to our world today. And again, it depends on you and the health of your body and what's going on with you. So what's really important to understand is what is going on with you in your situation. Is it a healthy food for you? So there's a couple of things at play here. One, yes, we've greatly manipulated and altered and changed our food supply. So that's a big component, but it's also, again, about what's going on with us and inside of our bodies. One of the biggest issues when we're talking about this food is we've removed ourselves from God's creation. We've removed ourselves from living in God's creation. I mean, you might be able to go back a couple of hundred years and everybody was probably fine with the way they made bread back then. It's changed today. We don't live, I know this is going to sound funny, but we don't really live in God's world anymore. We live in a man-made world. Now, if we lived on farms still, some of us do that, and that's great. That's closer to connecting with God and creation, and especially related to food. But we've created a man-made world. A concrete jungle, so to speak, and it's much tougher to make the right choices when you live in a world that's been fully taken over by man-made things. Makes it harder to find God. So, we've talked in the past classes, every class I've ever done, about how we have to choose God's foods. We have to choose the things that God gave us to put in our bodies because He made us. He made food, and if we put those things in our body understands that. The body doesn't understand the man-made things, the synthetic chemicals and all the things we're putting in our food. So that's critical. So 100% of the time, if you choose the things that God gave us in the area of food, you're going to benefit from that over the man-made stuff that we've all eaten. We've all eaten some form of candy, soda, ice cream, Twizzlers, Doritos, soda pop, whatever. We've all done it. Okay? But we're going to benefit from changing and switching from the man-made stuff to the God-made stuff. That's just a universal statement. B, if you're in a general good state of health, you should be able to eat everything that God gave us in its pure form. But again, that's not working today. There's even great, amazing, pure whole foods that God made that aren't working for people because of what's going on inside of their bodies. So C, many people today have compromised bodies and health problems. So that's the issue. You may not necessarily be able to process even good quality whole foods. And this is what's so confusing to people. Dairy is probably one of the most confusing things. Well, raw dairy, and people have been eating it for thousands of years. Why should I not be able to do that? Grain, especially wheat. Well, I buy the wheat berries and I grind it myself and I make my own bread. Shouldn't that be fine for everybody? Again, yes and no. It depends on you and your family and what your situation is. So that's what we kind of have to discern through all of this. People have digestive problems because of what we've done to the food, but also what we've done to our bodies. If you've done lots of antibiotics or birth control pills or antacids or various number of medications, if you've eaten a lot of white processed sugar, there's a lot of things that we've done that messes up our digestion. So if you eat certain foods, again, even good quality foods that God gave us, and you can't digest them properly, your body's going to get mad at you. You're going to have a process. You're going to have an issue with it, and you might have reactions to it, what we call food allergies, food sensitivities, other things. We have infections in the body. So a lot of people have overgrowth of fungus, candida, yeast, different issues in the gut, in the body, and they feed off of sugar. So you can't just go eat all the fruit and all the bread you want, even if it's in the best form, if you have a chronic infection in your body. You're going to have a flare-up. You're not going to feel good. You're going to feel foggy-brained. You're going to feel tired. You're going to feel negative symptoms to that because of, again, what's going on inside of your body. I give kind of a list here of just some basic health issues that you have to understand that there's a connection between food and health, and a lot of us don't understand that. I think, especially in our medical community, we know that diet nutrition isn't talked about a lot. If you have a digestive issue, Crohn's, colitis, diverticulitis, IBS, etc., you might understand that food plays a role in your health. But if you have eczema and you go to a dermatologist, are you taught that the problem with eczema is an internal problem in your body that can be reversed or at least greatly helped by nutrition and the food choices you make? A lot of times we don't make those connections because we're not told about those kind of connections in the medical industry. So I just listed a few: autoimmune conditions, autism, headaches, migraines, diabetes, cancer, heart disease, the big ones. I mean, if you have issues in your body, you might have a problem with these foods, even in their absolute best, purest form. So I hope I drove that point home enough, because it's just one of the biggest confusing things, I think, in our world today. Is just, we want to eat God's foods. We want to eat the original things He gave us. Then why do I still have a problem when I eat homemade bread? Why do I still clearly have an issue or a reaction to raw milk? Because it's supposed to be good. It's confusing. So that's what I stress in D, is that we have damaged our food supply. There's no doubt about it. But what's bigger than what we've done to the food is what's going on inside of our bodies. The ability of our body to handle, to digest, to process, to get the nutrients needed to eliminate what shouldn't stay in the body or stay in the bloodstream that'll cause reactions. That's what's crucial, is to understand what's going on inside of our bodies. And we have to make our food choices based on that. And we might have to make some sacrifices that we can't eat all of the wonderful things that God gave us because of our compromised health. And that's just a reality. That's just a reality of the world we live in today. So we will go into, the little flies are the worst ones. The little flies that are really fast. There's one in here, so if you can get him. Wheat, corn, and other grains. Wheat and grains have been a staple food throughout history, right? I mean, I've done classes on this before, and that's the questions people raise their hand. They're like, well, wheat's in the Bible. We've eaten these grains all throughout history, even since biblical times. So what's the problem? What's the problem with going to the store today and buying bread that's from wheat? Well, there's unfortunately a lot of problems. I just quoted Ezekiel. You know, who's bought Ezekiel bread? I've had Ezekiel bread. We've all had Ezekiel bread. It's based off of Ezekiel. Now, you probably didn't do it the way Ezekiel did. You probably didn't lay on your side for an entire year and only eat a third of a loaf of bread, and that was all you ate. But that's where Ezekiel bread comes from. It's basic grains that are found in the Bible. And so from a historical perspective, looking throughout history, grains have been treated basically the same. They grow in a field. We cut them down when it's time for harvest. It would usually sit in the field. So there would be natural moisture content within the grains. The sun would shine on the grains in the field, and it would naturally start to sprout. And that's when they would eat them. So what we're doing today with sprouting breads and sprouting flours and sprouting grains and doing that process is good, but it used to be the natural way things were harvested. Now it's totally different. It's totally different because things spoil. And food companies don't want things to spoil. So what they do is they cut it and they dry it. They suck as much moisture out of it as possible. They remove the bran and the germ and the vitamins and minerals, for the most part, all the nutrients out of it, because that's what makes it shelf stable. So it's just changed. Again, we've manipulated our food supply. Everybody used to live on farms and grow their own food, for the most part. And so you always use the fresh stuff. Now we live where? Out of grocery stores, out of boxes, out of packages, out of bread on shelf. And so that's what's changed. Some places are trying to keep it the same. I mean, I lived in Europe for a while. It was normal to, on your way home from work, every single night, stop at the store and buy fresh bread for that night's meal. That was normal. You didn't go to the store to buy a loaf of bread that could sit in your shelf and be fine for 2 weeks. That's not normal. But that's what we've created, and that's why it's different, the foods that we're eating today. So not only have we changed it, I'm in D, the sprouting's gone, but the nutrition's been taken out of the food. And it's the shelf life business is a term for it. It actually started around, see, there's that fly. It started around World War I. And what happened is they were looking for foods that could last a long time without spoiling for soldiers who were in the fields. So you get dropped in wherever you're at, and you need to have food that doesn't spoil. What was the term for that? Dad, you would know. What do they call that? The food packages. There's a
MREs.
Yes, MREs. Is that what it is?
Meal ready.
Meal ready. Yeah. So this started 100 years ago, and that was one of the reasons. And the food industry got a hold of this and go, oh my gosh, I can make things that don't spoil, because spoilage is what? It's loss of profit. I mean, anybody who's owned a small business or a produce store, or you know stuff spoils, and it can spoil fairly quickly. It's supposed to. Do we understand? We understand that food's supposed to spoil. Like, it's that way for a reason. So that is what the food companies got a hold of around World War I. And they said, okay, we can make food that doesn't spoil by processing it through these machines, removing certain things out of it, and that way we can make all these pretzels and crackers and chips and all this stuff that can sit on a shelf for 1 year, 2 years, not spoil, and we won't lose any profit. The problem with that is they removed all of the godly elements from the food. Again, the germ, the bran, the vitamins, the minerals, they're taken out of it. They're taken out of it. So this is why it's long-term, it's dangerous to eat those foods. You might not notice anything right away, but eventually you're going to become nutritional deficient. And I'll tell you who really pays for it. Children. Children pay for it. I mean, you can live, and we probably did 2 generations ago. Grandparents, I'm thinking my generation of grandparents, they lived into their 80s and 90s very, very often times. And they were eating a lot of these foods, because these foods have been around since, again, the teens, the 20s. They might not have noticed it so much. But then their children, to their children's children, to their children's children's children, which is today's generations, we're a wreck. We have eczema and allergies and asthma and autism and even young children with diabetes. I mean, it's horrible. what's happened. And so we have to not just think about ourselves and our bodies and what we're doing to our bodies, but we got to think about the children. I mean, in the 20s, Dr. Weston A. Price, Dr. Royal Lee, Dr. Francis Pottinger, they realized that the reason we had an increase of degenerative illness and disease in America was because of white flour and white sugar. And they wrote volumes of books on it. The best book I ever read was Nutrition and Physical Degeneration by Dr. Weston A. Price. Best book I ever read on nutrition. And he clearly laid out how if we continue to eat white flour, white sugar, then we will continue to have degeneration of our culture. Now, he didn't even know what was happening with the children. He saw heart disease, diabetes, and cancer going through the roof in the people of that generation in the 20s and 30s, these increasing numbers. He didn't even yet know the impact that would have on children. So he went and lived with different cultures around the world and found that native cultures didn't have these issues. They didn't have degenerative disease. They were eating fresh foods that God gave them straight off the earth, which we've all done for hundreds of years until recently. And so he noted this, and he wrote books about it. And still today, 100 years later, we're still eating white flour, white sugar, baked goods, pizza, pasta, crackers, chips. We're still eating the same stuff. And it's worse than ever before. So if we want ourselves to be healthier, but even more importantly, maybe our children to be healthy, we got to stop eating those foods. So you take vitamins and let me tell you the simple concept. God created all foods. He created us. He created us out of minerals, vitamins, water, amino acids, fatty acids, crucial things that are found in foods of God's creation. You process things through a machine. You take all that stuff out of it. You're eating nothing. You're eating energy. You're eating energy, which is the white flour, the white sugar. It's energy to the body. No vitamins, no minerals, no fatty acids, no protein. It takes all of that out. So how does the body continue to function? Well, it can't. It can't. Eventually, your body's going to break down. The children are going to be born weak genetically because of the change in the DNA structure, because there weren't certain minerals and things available to that baby as it was being formed. You know, we have deformations and all different kinds of things happening with children. So that's what happens. You know, God designed food in us to work a certain way, and we've gone outside of God's natural design, and we're not putting the foundational elements of which God designed us so that the body can function the way it was intended. Does that make sense? Simple enough. Okay. So what did food companies do? Well, let me tell you something interesting. There used to be an FDA that actually cared about people and food. When it was first formed, they actually cared about food and people. That's changed. But there used to be just natural foods. There was no such thing as processed foods. And so when companies started processing foods, the FDA actually passed a law that said if you have a man-made, synthetic, random, weird thing that's not actually real food the way God designed it from the earth, you have to put a warning label on it. There was warning labels on food that said this contains, I don't remember what the label was, but this contains synthetic, and it was something that to let you know that this wasn't a fully natural product, that this was a mechanized product or a chemical created by man in a laboratory that wasn't real food. That was the warning label back then. And so what the companies would fight this because they're like, oh my gosh, we can't sell our Franken food weird shelf life stuff if it's going to spoil, so we have to do something to change the food laws. And so there was this battle and Congress and laws passed and all these different things. And eventually they got the labels taken off, and so they could put whatever, not put any warnings that the food was dangerous anymore, and that kind of started this problem. But here's what's fascinating about, I talk about fortification, fortified foods. And it's still used today as a marketing technique. I mean, Cheerios, okay, well, it's whole grain and this and that, and people are like, well, cereal's not really good for you, and so they'll come out with a new commercial about how it's now fortified with more iron because your kids need iron, and we'll go out and buy Cheerios again, right? So all fortified means, so what happened, this is funny. This is actually really ironic. It's not funny. It's actually really sad because it destroys a lot of people's health. What the FDA, the kind of compromise that the government made with all of this that was going on is they said, okay, You want your food to sit on the shelf a long time. You've totally manipulated and changed it and taken everything good out of it. So what we want you to do is put the good stuff back in. So after you process it, manipulate it, change it so that it can sit on the shelf, you've taken iron and folate and B vitamins and all the stuff out. Could you put it back in? Could you do that for us? And so all of these vitamins and minerals, the most of what they're putting back into the food for fortification, they're synthetic. They're usually shipped over in large containers from China and different countries. They're totally man-made synthetic chemicals. Almost all B vitamins. If you look on a food label and you see B vitamins listed on there, it's probably coal tar based, because they can recreate the molecular structure of what B vitamins are supposed to look like in real food out of petroleum. So it's actually a synthetic thing that you're putting in your body. And so that's what they would do, is they'd fortify these foods. I mean, you buy milk. They manipulate and change the milk. What do? They fortify it with what? Vitamin D and calcium and whatever. They try to put back in what they've destroyed or what they've taken out. And that doesn't work. You've already changed God's design. You've already taken the good stuff out. What you're putting back in is a synthetic chemical. And the marketers and advertisers advertise to it like it's a good thing. And we've, hook, line, and sinker, we've done it for decades. we've believed all these lies. And it causes degenerative illness. So all that to say this. Let's go back to the original design. Let's go back to the way God designed food. It would be, buying your own wheat berries, sprouting it, buying Ezekiel bread. I'm going to kind of go through that a little bit. But the other thing they've done to food and the way they've manipulated is hybridization. So what is hybridization? You take one type of wheat and another type of wheat, and you join them together to make a different kind of wheat, and then, I don't like that one, so let's mix this one and this one. And so it's not like GMOs. It's not genetically modified. It's not actually going in and altering the DNA structure within the cellular matrix of the plant. It's actually just taking different varieties and continuing to join them until you get what you want. So it's not as bad as GMO. It's still not good, because what they've done is they've hybridized wheat and other plants to contain high levels of gluten, because the higher amount of gluten it has, the more resistant it is to bugs. And so they've changed it to have these different abnormal levels of these different things, which is why so many people today are having issues with gluten, and it's just because of the way they've changed the plant. So hybridization is an issue. I already mentioned all the above been done. Why? Because of the food industry. It's all about the food industry. And we have chosen to eat out of grocery stores and fast food places and eat convenience foods over the farmers markets, growing our own food, making our own food, which is all we did throughout human history. It's important to know that white flour, anytime you concentrate anything, it can become addictive. Is that fair to say? I mean, is cocaine addictive? Okay. Is the coca leaf that people in South America have been drinking as a tea for thousands of years addictive? It's not. Is sugar addictive? Yes, white sugar. Is anybody addicted to pineapples? I'm just asking. Do you like pineapples? Are they sweet? Are they really, really good? You're not addicted to them. Why? It's a whole food. It's not concentrated. So once you concentrate something, once you take cane sugar and you take this much of it and run it through a machine and pull all the nutrients out and put it into a bag this big and then put multiple scoops of it into your recipes, you're going to have a problem. Because what it does is it stimulates dopamine receptors. It stimulates feel-good receptors in the brain. This is why children are addicted to sweets and addicted to breads and addicted to carbohydrates. Because once you take all the nutrition and value out of it and you take the fiber and the vitamins and the minerals out of it, it just goes right into the bloodstream and stimulates the brain and goes, wow, this makes me feel good. As opposed to going through the whole digestive process and giving you long-term sustainable energy. Yes, it's good. It's going to make you happy, make you feel good. But it's not going to stimulate an addictive response. So sugar does that, but so does white flour. So, white bread, it tastes good, and we can keep eating it and keep eating it and keep eating it. And so these are all addictive substances because of the way they've been manipulated and processed. So if you eat whole foods and you have issues with food or overeating certain foods, switching to the foods God gave us in original design is you're going to be more in balance. You're going to be more in control. You're not going to be as addicted to food. Where is gluten found? Brow like eyebrow. Barley, rye, oats, and wheat. That's kind of an easy way to think about it. Gluten intolerance, gastrointestinal epidemic. I mean, there's whole books. There's a Grain Brain book. Who's read that book? I mean, Grain Brain, it's all about like the gluten and the grain and how it affects the brain and causes all kinds of psychological disorders and linked to autism and all different types of things. So the manipulation of our food, the inability of the body to digest them properly, the infections in our body that are fed by sugars and starches and carbs and grains, it's all going to cause problems in our body. Wheat, number one food allergy and food intolerance in the Western world. Many people are going to benefit from getting away from grains in general. Gluten, it's not... Oh, you know what? I'm going to make that point later. So what processed grains should we avoid? Processed foods, wheat, barley, rye, oats, and it's in everything. It's in your chips and your pasta and your pizza. Oh, chips or potatoes, sorry. It's in your pizza, it's in your crackers, it's in your cereal, it's in bread, it's in pretzels, it's in baked goods, it's in so many things. Better options. Ancient seed grains. Millet, amaranth, buckwheat, quinoa. They don't have any gluten in them. Wild rice, brown rice. Unprocessed oats like steel-cut oats. You can soak them overnight. A little apple cider vinegar or whey will take the phytic acid and some of the things out of it that make it hard to digest. Sprouted whole grains. There's Ezekiel bread. There's Genesis 1:29 bread. There's there's sourdough breads, which are more fermented breads. Those would all be better choices. But again, understand that you still might have an issue with this if you have some health issue in your body. You got to know what's going on with you. But anybody is going to benefit from switching to the more whole food, natural forms of it. I definitely want to stress be careful eating gluten-free. I mean, I tell people over and over again, do not shop in the gluten-free section. It's been around since the 50s. There's a diet called the specific carbohydrate diet. It was great because it helped people with celiac and gluten intolerance, and it made them better. It was getting away from gluten-containing foods. The birth of the gluten-free industry. It's been around since the 50s. Okay, if you eat gluten-free foods, you can eat lots of sugars and potato starches and tapioca and soy and all kinds of things because they're not gluten-containing. Does that make them good for you? Is it I'm saying this jokingly, but it's serious because I know people who have done it, that they're eating gluten-free and they think they're healthy. I mean, they think it's healthy just to eat gluten-free because they've been so told so many times over and over that, stay away from gluten, get away from gluten. But if your diet is gluten-free cookies and gluten-free crackers and gluten-free bread, you're going to be still eating a lot of weird things, and you're still going to be eating a lot of starches and sugars and carbs and things that aren't going to be great for you. So you don't have to shop in the gluten-free section, but you can eat quinoa because it doesn't contain gluten. So just be careful of the processed foods that are found in the gluten-free section because there's companies that are making a lot of money off of you just eating gluten-free. Does that make sense? Okay. Corn. 85% of corn is genetically modified, not labeled. They've been trying to pass law after law after law in America that we'd actually label our food and let you know if it's genetically modified. It's been shot down every time. There's a big one that just happened it was out west, California or Oregon or somewhere, and it didn't get passed. And so you don't know what's genetically modified and what's not. So if it doesn't say organic and non-GMO, trust me, if a company is going through the efforts to give you a quality corn, they're going to let you know. It's going to be all over the label. Organic, non-GMO, they're going to let you know because almost all of it isn't. And we talked about GMOs last time. They don't reproduce themselves. They're infertile. They damage our cellular structure of the human body. They're extremely dangerous. So we want to get away from corn. My wife and I, as an example, we like sweet corn. We get it from the farmer's market. As far as I know, sweet corn has not been genetically modified. It's more of the commercialized corn that they use for everything else. And then we'll get the sprouted organic corn tortillas sometimes, to make tacos or something like that. So you can find some good corn stuff. But if you eat packaged foods, if you eat processed foods, the corn is in so many things, just like the wheat. And most of it's going to be the GMO variety. Okay, so dairy. Bible talks of a land flowing with milk and honey. Okay, that's not about milk and honey. It just means abundance in the Bible. It's God's description for an abundant land, a fruitful land. However, there are biblical references to drinking milk. It's in Psalms or Proverbs. I can't remember what it was, but it talks about goat milk for the maidens. There's biblical references to drinking milk and using milk as a food. I do believe that God gave us milk from animals as a food. Repeating again, depends on the health of your body. It really depends on the health of your body. I will say, in having worked with people for years with different issues, the number one thing I have people have issues with is dairy products. Now I don't ever try to want to offend anybody, but I just want to give you the truth. It doesn't matter how healthy your cows are, how grass-fed your cows are. If your body's compromised, you're not going to be able to digest it and process it, especially children. So many children today are born compromised. They cannot handle or process milk. I'm just going to give you a little bit of logic here. The cow's milk is designed for what? Cow. A baby cow. That's what the cow's milk is designed for. It turns a 50-pound calf into a 1,000-pound cow in 1 year. It's very, very heavy, thick, rich, high protein, high fat food. So if you have a baby that's in perfect health, they might do just fine with cow's milk. The vast majority of children born today absolutely will not, just because of how weak our bodies have become through the last few generations. And I see it over and over again. I see children with allergies and asthma and eczema, and these children are 6 months old, 1 year old, 2 years old. And the first thing I always say is, are you doing dairy? Most of the time it's yes, because they've been led to believe that dairy is good for everybody. Not only do the farmers tell them that sell the raw milk, but also the American Dairy Association has been telling us that for decades, that milk does a body good and you want to have a milk mustache and all that cool stuff, right? Now, I should take a picture of our daughter with maybe like a green mustache. We'll switch it around. But we've been led to believe that milk's good for everybody. And again, it's not because of how compromised our systems are. And cow's milk is designed for a baby cow. That's how God designed it. And again, it doesn't mean it can't be a food, potentially, for some people. But it's really difficult today for people to process milk because of all the health issues. If you do want to choose a milk, goat's milk is a much better choice. It's more molecularly similar to human milk because goats are just smaller animals and goats aren't as big, so it's not as thick of a rich food. God's design is God's design. So the goat is going to be better for a baby if you want to try that. But we also don't have to believe that the only way a child is going to grow up is if he has milk. We should be breastfeeding our children for, I don't want to say because they say a year is good, but our daughter's 2.5 and she's still breastfeeding, and we'll probably go till at least 3. Ancient cultures would breastfeed children till 3, 4, even 5 sometimes. It was normal. But even if a child only breastfeeds 6 months or a year, don't assume that you have to give the child milk for them to grow. They can eat plenty of fruits and vegetables and meats and broths and different things, and that's fine. That's fine. People have done that for thousands of years. I guess I just want to express that because I feel like, again, we have this perception that, okay, I got to wean my child, or I lost my breast milk supply, and it's like we have to give the child milk. We have to give the child milk. And so there's companies out there selling formula and these different things that have soy and all kinds of synthetic chemicals and a lot of weird stuff in it. You know, the only thing that's in formula that's really doing anything, it's calories. It's bulk. But there's no real nutrition or value in it. It's just bulk. So those aren't good choices. So I talked about that. Oh, this is really sad, but I have to do it. Paragraph D, the life of a dairy cow. And this is sad. So I make the point at the bottom, if we're buying grocery store dairy products, milk and cheese and different things in the grocery store, and if we're eating fast food and not really caring where our food comes from, this is the kind of industry we're supporting. So animals give milk when they do what? They give birth. So how do you keep a dairy cow producing milk? You keep getting them pregnant. They spend their whole lives pregnant. As soon as the calf is born, they take the calf away from mom, which you would not imagine the scream from the cow. These are real living creatures with feelings. And they take them away within the first 2 days. And then they get as much milk out of them as they can, and then they get them pregnant again. And this is the process. They give them artificial hormones. They produce literally up to 7,000 liters of milk per year, which is 10 times the normal amount they'd normally give to their calf. 10 times the normal amount. Because of the heavy milk production, almost all cows get mastitis. So they get infections. And what are they treated with for infections? Antibiotics. Okay, so these are very sick, very unhealthy cows. Some of them get so sick they can't even hardly stand or walk. Most of them stay inside. They don't even get sunshine or fresh air or eat grass. I mean, it's sick. It's really sad. And it's kind of the out of sight, out of mind thing. We don't think about this or really care about this because, well, we just live in life and we buy food in the grocery store and, all is well. So I just really want people to understand that it's really sad. The average life of a dairy cow is 4 to 7 years. Cows live 21 years on average. That's a horrible way to live your life. And they're fed grains and corn to fatten them up. So yeah, it's really sad. So obviously, if you go to a local farmer and you buy raw milk, most likely these are happy cows and they're running around in the field and they're eating lots of grass and they get lots of sunshine and life is good. So it's definitely a better choice. Important to understand that just pasteurizing milk doesn't make it good for us. These are very unhealthy cows. There's a website I gave you at the end. It's called notmilk.com. If you really want, it's really tough to read this stuff because you'll see how dirty and unhealthy the milk is. There's a reason that it goes rancid after the date. It rancid and it goes spoiled because it's so unhealthy. It's so full of germs and pus and bacteria. The pasteurization of it only lasts for so long. And so as soon as that expires, then it goes rancid because there's so many putrefying elements in the milk because the animals are so unhealthy. All kinds of diseases known to be passed through dairy, and you won't hear about it. Type 1 diabetes is a big link. Juvenile type 1 diabetes in children, huge link from eating pasteurized, homogenized dairy products. But again, you're not going to hear about those those links. So basically what pasteurization does is it gives the dairy industry an excuse to make a really dirty, gross, unhealthy product, pasteurize it, and say, well, now it's okay to drink because we've killed all the germs. And it's just not true. I'll just stress it again in G. Milk allergies are common. It's the most problematic food for children, hands down. And I would say adults too. And it's sad because, again, God gave us this as a food, but we just can't handle it anymore. Most people can't handle it anymore. I talk about processed cow's milk being linked to SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. Children are born weak. They're given this milk that they can't process, handle. It gets their bodies congested. And, there's a reason for SIDS. Okay, this isn't just random happenings or random occurrences. There's a reason the United States has one of the highest rating of SIDS in the entire world. Even among third world countries have better statistics. And it's because of the things we're doing to our kids. The antibiotics, the vaccines, the foods we're giving them. Children just don't die in their sleep. There's always a reason. There's always cause and effect. So this is one of the things that has been linked to that. So H, I talk about raw milk being easier to digest, of course. It contains living enzymes. The living enzymes, even if the milk, quote-unquote, spoils or goes bad, milk doesn't really spoil or go bad. There's an article I found on the website that said 101 uses for spoiled milk. It's always been used on your face, and it's fermented. I mean, there's tons of health benefits to milk once it starts to actually turn, because there's living bacteria in there that actually break down the milk sugars, and that's how it turns into more of a fermented product or a soured product. There's actually health benefits to that. The beauty of fermentation. So when milk is fermented, I think of that scripture, what is it, in Job? I've talked about it in classes before, but it says, Job said, when he's talking to God, he said, "You made me out of dust of the earth. You curdled me like milk." He says you curdled me like milk. So basically from birth, we're curdled, we're fermented. When we drink breast milk from mom, it actually is fermented, and it goes slowly through the body to give us healthy bacteria. Like, this is a process of God's design. And you miss all that when you do formula, or you can't breastfeed, or different various reasons. So fermentation, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It actually starts from birth. If a baby's born with a normal, healthy birth and the mom's able to breastfeed, that's why breastfeeding is crucial to the future health of a child. Again, it's God's design. So the fermentation process pre-digests some of the proteins. It eats up all the milk sugars, and it's just easier to process. So if you're going to try dairy, butter doesn't have much in it as far as casein, the protein, or the milk sugars. So that's safe for most people. Yogurt, kefir are safer for a lot of people. Ideally that you get it from a local farmer. The commercially fermented stuff, people jump on the bandwagon, like Yoplait or Dannon or whoever those guys are, and they talk about how great their yogurt is, and it's really not. I mean, it's pasteurized, homogenized milk. Some of them actually pasteurize it after the fermentation process, but they don't have to tell you that, so there's really not hardly any probiotics or living organisms in there, and you just can't trust the food industry, unfortunately. So just be cautious of what you're buying. What dairy should we avoid? Homogenized, pasteurized dairy, washing cheese consumption. Did you know American cheese isn't real? It's not cheese. I'm not joking. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Velveeta cheese, American cheese, it's not real. There's actually nothing in it related to cheese or dairy. It's got totally other weird things in it. I don't know. It's really weird. Anyway, sorry, I just thought I'd mention that. Cheese substitutes are usually full of weird chemicals. Better options, butter and ghee, are fine for most people. Ghee is clarified butter. It's been used in India in Ayurvedic medicine for thousands of years as a medicine. It's like one of the most common things they use to heal people is ghee, which is clarified butter. Raw dairy products from a local farmer. Butter or a dairy introduction schedule, which GAPS Diet does a good job of going over that, but basically she recommends butter first, then try your fermented stuff, so like your kefir and then your yogurt, and then you go on down from there before you would actually get to trying to consume raw milk. Because again, so many people have issues with it. Calcium myth, just real quick. The way they manipulate and change our food supply, that calcium's not bioavailable or absorbable. So everything the American Dairy Association's been telling you about how it's almost like your kids, it's impossible for your kids to grow up, be healthy, grow strong, or grow at all if they don't drink milk. I mean, wasn't that kind of the marketing ploy for the last 50, 60 years? the thing I like to think about and conceptualize is I think of the animals with the biggest bones on the planet, like elephants. What would be another one? Rhino, hippo, giraffe. You got big bones. Where do they get osteoporosis? Do they get osteopenia? Are you hearing zookeepers talking about osteoporosis in the lions and in the bears? No, we do it to ourselves. We process our food. We put all kinds of acidic foods in our body. It causes the body to pull and leach calcium from our bones. How do animals get strong bones? Well, I highlighted it. Greens and sunshine. That's it. They all eat green foods. They're all out in the sun all day. And they have crazy, unbelievable, thick, strong bones that aren't going to get osteoporosis. So you want to have strong bones? Eat greens and get sunshine. I mean, we know now you can't synthesize and have healthy bones without vitamin D. What was vitamin D deficiency? What was that called? Remember that? Rickets. Yeah, rickets back in the day, right? So we have to have sunshine to form proper bones. Well, we live inside. We're hardly outside anymore. We're not eating green foods, and we don't even like them. But this is the key to having strong bones. And weight-bearing exercises. So walking, lifting weights, doing things that tell the bones that you need to get stronger. So it's not from drinking milk. That's not what gives you strong bones. It might be beneficial in the first 6 months or year of your life. It's beneficial to all living creatures on this earth for the first few months of their lives. But there's not a single animal that exists on this planet that continues to drink milk after birth or after weaning, right? So why do we think we have to have it to survive? Again, it's marketing that's been told us. And again, I'm stressing, it's not that we can't have milk as a food. We can have milk as a food. But look to other sources to have strong bones, and don't assume that you have to drink milk. And I'd really encourage you not to do milk unless you're really active and you have really good health and really strong digestion and you don't have any known ailments, because it's going to block the ability of your body to heal, because it's a heavy food. It was designed for that animal. It's heavy food for the human body to digest. So, notmilk.com, westonAprice.org, you can check out those websites. Soy. This is fascinating. I just have to talk about the birth of soy as a health product. This is also almost all genetically modified. Almost all soy is. It's been completely taken over by the food industry. The reason soy became such a big, big deal was Ford Motor Company. Is that weird? I put it in the box right here. They spent over $1 million. Now, how much was $1 million in the 1930s? They spent over $1 million researching soybeans because they found they could use it in paint, in all their car parts, and it was cheap. So they researched this and found out that it could be used to make car parts. And so this industry of making thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of acres of soybeans for Ford Motor Company. There was a part of the soybean that they didn't use, and it was the protein. It was kind of a leftover residue, and it's what we know today as soy protein isolate. And now it's a health food. Why is it a health food? Because they don't want to waste anything, and they want to make money on every single part that they can. So they started promoting soy as a healthy food. It's high in protein. You should all eat it, because it was a waste product of Ford Motor Company. And now they can make money on the waste product and call it good for us. And still today, we're eating things that contain soy protein isolate. Look in most of the food bars that people eat. Look in a lot of the protein powders that people do. They contain the soy protein isolate. All kinds of issues with it that I don't even want to get into. But one of the biggest things I've seen with soy is endocrine disruptor. I know people who have been raised on soy and had hormonal issues, fertility issues, thyroid issues, all kinds of issues. Now, can we assume and know that it's a soy? Who knows? We got so many messed up things in our world today. But soy is estrogenic. I don't know where I put it in there somewhere. In Switzerland, they did a study. it showed that 100 grams of soy protein is equivalent to a birth control pill. So it's like giving a child birth control. Soy is in almost all infant formulas. Why? It's cheap. Oh, it's protein. Your child needs protein. Well, how as a food company can I find the cheapest possible thing that exists so I can make the most money? I'm going to use soy protein. That's what they do. It's not about life. It's not about health. It's not about what's best for you or your children. It's about what makes them the most profit. And that's the sadness of the world we've created today. So soy causes a lot of hormone imbalances, fertility issues. It has been eaten in Asia, but it's different. They grew their own. They ate it fresh. They fermented a lot of it. Natto, tempeh, miso. You can buy those things in the store today. They're pretty good. Same thing, I'd really, really be cautious about getting organic and non-GMO because everything's been manipulated. So we really want to avoid soy protein isolate. It's genetically modified, almost all of it. It's an isolate, which means it's a part of the plant extracted out. God made whole things in its whole form for a very good reason. We want to eat the whole things of God in whole food form. It's crucial. Weston A. Price has a little pamphlet called Soy Alert. I think I have some right here if you want to look at the little soy stuff. They have a lot of stuff on their website about it as well. It gained popularity with women going through menopause. Why? Because it's estrogenic. It would have an estrogen-like effect on their bodies, and it would help with hot flashes and night sweats and those types of issues. And so that was a good thing for them to not feel those symptoms. But it's too much. It's overly estrogenic. Again, it's going to be dangerous doing too much of it, especially in the forms it is, especially to children. We've got to get away from formulas of any type and feed our children breast milk ideally and real food. If your child's over 6 months, just go for food. Get away from the formulas, any formulas. Just go for food. They're old enough to eat food at that age. Fermentation, yeah, you can ferment soy. So let me go to follow the money trail. Number 5, all of the foods here that we're talking about, dairy, wheat, corn, soy, some of the biggest multi-million-dollar industries in our country and in the world. Soy companies are going all over the world telling women in third world countries that breast milk, it might be okay, but we have the perfect formula for everything your child needs, and it's really affordable. And they've literally infiltrated third world countries, and they've gotten moms and children on soy protein formula. Devastating, to say the least. But this is what happens. It's about money. It's about money. And that's why this whole thing, I'm trying to express God's heart, and I know it's hard, but He wants us to choose Him. He wants us to choose the things He gave us in their original form for our health, for our children's health, because He loves us. And He's seen us make these poor choices, seeing us manipulate His original design, seeing the damage and the replication done from that, and His heart's breaking. Because we have choice. We have free will. We can choose to eat what we want and do what we want, and He's going to let us do that. But eventually we have to realize it, wake up, turn away from these big businesses and industries, not support them by buying these foods, and we got to get away from it. So it's just, I just give a few examples here. Soy. Cargill's the biggest seller of soy. I talk about the breastfeeding thing here. It's in 60% of our foods. So if you go to the grocery store and you buy things in a box, package, or can, about 60% of it contains soy. I mean, that's crazy. Wheat, corn, and grains. It's cheap. It's readily available. It binds things together like glue, so it's easy to make crackers and different things because of the binding capacity that's good. It's addictive. People are going to eat it over and over and over and over and over again. You know, I was addicted to Cheez-Its probably one time, and they're really good, okay, because of the way they're processed and manipulated. So high fructose corn syrup, we've all heard the issues of that. Dairy, one of the biggest businesses in the country, the American Dairy Association. For one second, they want you to think potentially pasteurization is a problem, or homogenization is a problem, or milk might not be good for your child or might not be good for people with various health issues? Of course not. They don't want you to believe that. They want you to buy their products. So, see, we can't afford to trust our health, the health of future generations, to huge multinational corporations. Their focus is profit, not health. And I'm not saying there's not. So again, there might be a company or two out there that really loves people and cares about health and is coming out with good products, but they're not the big guys. Okay, they're not Kraft and Heinz and Hershey's. Okay, they're the small companies, and most of the small companies get gobbled up, right? By who? Heinz and Kraft and ConAgra and Cargill. I mean, if you knew how many of your healthy stuff at health food stores, your juices, Odwalla, and these different companies who have come out, tried to do the right thing, get gobbled up by Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Nestle. Okay, why? Profit, money. As soon as they see dollars and they see an ability to make money on it, they gobble those companies up. It's really sad. I mean, most of our food supply is controlled by a few companies. So this is I know it's hard to do, but support local. I can't stress it enough. Roots, down the store, go there. Local health food store. We go to Roots. Does it cost more than other places? Some of the stuff? Yeah. I don't care. I'm going to support them. I want them to stay around because I know the quality's better. Support local farmers. Support farmers markets. I know it's easy and convenient to go to the grocery store, but just do your best to start spending your dollars where it's going to reward the most people. That's you, your children, that business. Not supporting this as much as we can. If you want to know the truth, we're going to get forced into it. I mean, we can make the choice now, but eventually all the prettiness we see here in America, it's going to go away. The grocery stores are going to go away. When things get difficult, war comes to America, different things are going to happen where this is going to go away. So buy land now. Grow your own food now. Learn how to grow. Learn how to ferment. Learn how to sprout. Learn where food comes from. Teach children where food comes from. I mean, it was so awesome for me to take our daughter out to Dottie's farm a couple of weeks ago and show her where an apple comes from. It comes from a tree. That's pretty cool. I mean, it sounds so simple to us. But if we live in the city and we live in grocery stores, we don't appreciate where food comes anymore. If a crisis hits America, everything in those grocery stores is gone in one day. And you'll never see it again. So we need to start learning where food comes from, how to grow it ourselves, and we need to start cooperating and partnering with each other to prepare for what's coming. Okay? I highlighted God will change our bodies and our genetics, but only through prayer, cooperation, and partnership with Him in His original design. I'm just going to give a simple example. Again, it's not to make anybody feel bad, but if we have diabetes, and we're praying to God to change us and to heal us, and we sit on our couch at home and eat white powdered donuts, eat Doritos, and drink Coca-Cola, what are the chances of God changing our genetics? Not overly likely. Okay? He's a good God. He really loves us. He really wants to heal us. But He also gave us free will and free choice. So it's better to go, okay, God, I believe you. I know I'm sick. I know my children have this. I know I have this. I know my parents and my grandparents died of this, this, and this, because everybody's suffered from the results of cancer and heart disease and diabetes and Alzheimer's. But it doesn't have to be our lot in life. If we choose God and we choose to believe that God can change our genetics and change our cells and change our bodies, and again, we can do that through prayer, but we can do that through the things God gave us and the things God designed, because He really, really wants, His heart is to see us be well and to align with Him and to choose Him and the things that He gave us. So I gave you 5 steps of some simple things you can do, but the bottom line is let's choose God. And in this particular class, choose the best forms of these foods I mentioned. But if you have health issues, know that they can work against what you're trying to accomplish just in this season. But you strengthen your digestion, you get infections out of your body, you get healed because God wants to heal us, and you partner with Him in embracing these things to heal. You can enjoy these things. We should be able to eat all of these things that God gave us if they're in a good form without having problems or reaction to them. Unfortunately, that's not today's world, but that is God's heart. He does want us to choose the things He gave us, and He does want us to heal, and He does want us to be able to eat these foods, because that's the sign of a healthy body, that we would be able to eat these things and not have issues with that. So, thank you. God bless. Questions? Wow, right at an hour, right on the money. No questions. Yes, question.
Is that the organic formula acceptable for baby?
Organic baby formula?
Yeah.
I'm really glad you asked that question, because I want you to understand what organic means. At least my understanding of it, and I'm not saying things haven't changed, because they change all the time. But all organic means, from what I understand today, is they don't use herbicides or pesticides on the crops, and it's not genetically modified, if it's USDA organic. Okay. Now, just because it's organic doesn't mean you go buy everything and it's okay. And that's kind of what we've been fooled into belief. We'll go to the grocery store, well, the cookies I buy, they're all organic, or the crackers are all organic, or the baby formula is all organic. It doesn't mean it has healthy ingredients. It just means what's in there doesn't have herbicides, pesticides, and might not be genetically modified. But it's not a free pass that it's good for you. Does that make sense? Okay. Sure, honey. Why don't you come up here so the microphone can hear you? Because I know you love to come up here and talk in front of people.
Ha ha ha. So, just to answer your question, I'm around a lot of moms, and I just have a heart for moms, because I know you're just doing so much. And then there's moms that are able to breastfeed. I've been very fortunate. I've been able to breastfeed my 2 girls, but I work with a lot of moms who either their choice was to breastfeed or they couldn't continue to breastfeed, and they did. Formula was the next option for them, obviously, because their child was too early to introduce weaning foods. In my opinion, I think that it is important to have at least up to a year some type of regular supplement that would supplement breast milk. And then after a year, they really should be okay with the foods. And we have a book that we've used to help us with that. It's called Super Nutrition
for Babies.
Mm-hmm. And it follows a lot of the guidelines and the beliefs that we follow. It teaches you and walks you through how to make bone broth soup that's full of minerals, and then you can puree your foods into that, and that can be a supplement, and it's totally dairy-free, and so if there's any allergies or anything. The next step down from breast milk, I feel, is there's a formula that you can make on your own through the guide of Weston A. Price. They have kits that you can purchase through a company that they work with, where they literally will give you steps to create your own formula. And it is time intensive, but from the moms that I know that have done it, it actually is more affordable than buying the best quality organic on the market. It's actually more affordable. And time-wise, I actually know a mom with 3 children. Her 4th child was the one they were making this formula for. She was able to do it. I got 2 kids. I'm like, how did you do that? Mm-hmm. But she was able to do it because she wanted to do that for her child. Then I also know that there's some other formulas that friends have tried out there. There's a new company that's come out called Honest. Have you guys heard of them? The Honest company. They do diapers, and they do different things. And so there are a few questionable ingredients related to specifically soy lecithin. It just depends on how nitpicky you want to be. My friend that made her own formula, she used the Honest company as a supplement for traveling, because traveling with making your own formula, that's a whole nother dimension. That's a lot of things to bring with you, and the dynamics of keeping all those ingredients ready and handy. So she would use that as a supplement for traveling. I don't know of any other company per se that I've heard of, but I know that there are a few out there, but they're very expensive. She told me the cost of doing the Honest Company for the time that they traveled was twice the cost of making her own at home. So there's options, but I think the things that Vaughn talked about, knowing the company, calling them, looking at their website, asking, if it's a dairy-based formula, what kind of cows, how are the cows raised, knowing if they're using hormones or antibiotics, and then also if there's soy in it, making 100% sure, because sometimes soy lecithin is used to help emulsify. And
that's usually okay.
And that's usually okay, but we try to find out if it's non-GMO. Because non-GMO, would be something that I'd be okay with, especially if it's just it's like the last ingredient on there. It's not 90%, but to give a child 90% like a soy-based formula to me would be not my first choice for sure. I would go with a very high-quality organic goats-based milk that has pure ingredients, and then I would supplement with cod liver oil and other things once they hit 6 months.
Thank you, Annie.
Okay.
Good job. See how much more detailed she is than I am? I love it. I don't know what I would do without her. It's good. It's good, man. It's good.
To pull me out of the detail.
I mean, I feel like I talk a million miles an hour and I barely cover it in an hour. Okay, sorry. Yes.
Would coconut milk be okay for babies? I think I heard you say that on one of your previous ones.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to have, it's got substance, it's got bulk, but it certainly has nowhere near everything that a growing child would need.
Okay.
Not for the early stages, not for like that first year of the life. Okay. After that, you want to add coconut milk, it's minerals and it's got bulk and substance and healthy fat, sure, as part of the diet, not as a replacement for breast milk, no way.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned that whole grain bread and whole wheat bread is not something you want to eat.
Right.
It's because it is it went through a lot of processing.
Yes, whole grain bread and whole wheat bread is tricky. It's processed. I'm going to tell you industry secret. It's not a secret, but and I'm not saying all of them. There's good companies out there, but there are companies who make processed grains into bread, white bread, and actually add coloring to make it brown so that they can sell it as whole wheat bread. When you use the whole grain, it's going to be better than actually stripping everything out and doing all that, but it's still heavily processed. And it still usually adds stabilizers and different things so that it can sit on the shelf and have a long shelf life. So that's why I mentioned best would be to do sourdough, the sprouted breads. The best breads you're going to find are in the refrigerated and frozen section. Okay, why? Because they'll spoil. It's supposed to. Food is supposed to. If food doesn't spoil, I'm scared of it, for the most part. Right? You've heard the stories about the McDonald's French fry that you found under the car 2 years later and it was still the same. That's weird. So, no, but does that answer your question? Yeah, so yeah, just because it's whole wheat or whole grain, that doesn't really mean much today. It might be a step up from white bread, but if this is white bread, this is whole grain bread, the sprouted stuff would be up here. It's just one step above white bread, basically. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes?
If you want to grow your own corn, what would you want to look for on the seeds? Would you just want them to say non-GMO or heirloom? What do you look for on the seeds?
Good question. If you want to grow your own corn or whatever foods, what do you look for on the label? Definitely organic and non-GMO. Now, it doesn't have to be, this is knowing your source. Okay, there's a website, I think it's heirloomseeds.com. They can't claim everything's organic, but they know their source, and you can trust them. So they know the farmers that they get them from. It's very hard to have organic standards. There's all kinds of farmers at the farmers market selling great produce that they don't spray with a bunch of chemicals, but they can't get certified organic because it's a lot of red tape, a lot of money, etc. So it's really, I'd say the most important thing is knowing your source.
And if it says heirloom, it's okay?
Heirloom is fantastic because that means it hasn't been hybridized, it hasn't been genetically modified. Heirloom means it's the original form of that seed and that food and has not been manipulated in any way, shape, or form. So heirloom is absolutely ideal, for sure. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, see you next time.